Lesson 5.5, perpendicular lines. What does it mean for two lines to be perpendicular? Well, it means that they form a right angle, and it would be shown like that in a picture, and it's going to be a 90-degree angle. So it means that they form 90-degree angles. And it could look like this picture I just drew, or they could meet like that, just as long as two lines intersect and form a right angle. So this is telling us that these two lines are perpendicular, like this set of lines is perpendicular. And what do we notice about their slope? So we want to pay attention to the slopes, and what we should notice here is that their slopes are opposite. When one is positive, one is negative, but they're also reciprocals. So they've been flipped upside down. In other words, a perpendicular line slope is as opposite as you can make it. So if one is -1/4, the other one is going to be positive, and will also switch out the rise and the run. And again, over here, they're opposite reciprocals. The first slope is 5/1, and then the second slope is negative, and it's upside down. It's -1/5. So when it says the slopes of perpendicular lines are, and we would put in here opposite reciprocals. Okay. Given an equation that would be perpendicular to each line, I can write any equation, but instead of using a -4, I need its opposite reciprocal. That would be a +1/4 for the slope. And then the y-intercept could be the same, or it could really be any other number. So to give a line that would be perpendicular to a slope of 1/2, I would need to make that a -2. I'm going to flip it over and make it negative, and then I'll just pick any number for the y-intercept. Determine whether these pairs of lines are perpendicular. Well, in this case, they are not, because one of them is a +1/2 and one is a 2, the slopes, but they're reciprocals, but they're not opposite. And then here, the answer is no again, because even though they're opposites, they're not reciprocals. The 3 and the -3 are not perpendicular. And then for these lines, I'm going to write them down here where I have a little room to work, and I'm going to rearrange them to see what the slope is. So I have to solve for y, and I would do that by subtracting 20x's from each side, and then dividing everything by 5. So this is 5 minus 4x. Okay, so there's one of them. And then I'll take this second one, and I'm going to work on this one. I'm going to subtract 2x's, and then I'll have to divide everything by -8. And that's going to be a -2.75. But then this is the part we care about. -2 over -8 would simplify to a +1/4 x. So there's the second line, and yes, their slopes are opposite reciprocals. The -4 and the 1/4 are opposite reciprocals. Okay, so here we're trying to hit this point -4, 6. It kind of just got split up funny. And we want to be perpendicular to this line. So we'll need to use a slope of a +1/2, the opposite reciprocal. And it says to write it in slope-intercept form. Okay, so I'm going to write y equals, and use the slope of +1/2 x plus b. And then I'm going to substitute in this point that I'm supposed to be using, -4 for x and 6 for y. So I'd have 6 equals. If I do that multiplication, I'll get -2 plus b. And then that means that b is going to be 8. So then I can now write this equation and say y equals 1/2 x, which we already knew, but now I know that the y-intercept will be 8 to make sure that it hits this point. Okay, so here we're going to do this again, but this will be a little easier because we get point-slope form. So if this slope is 1/2, then my slope should be a -2, and then I want to make sure I run into that point. So it will be y minus 1 would be +1, and then equals -2 parentheses x minus 9. And point slope, we're done just there. And then for standard form, I'm going to do start in point slope. So if this slope is a +4, I need to use a slope of a -1/4, and then I have to hit this point. So I'll have y plus 2 equals negative 1/4 parentheses x minus 8. And then I would distribute the negative 1/4. And then I would move the 1/4 x over to the other side by adding it to both sides. So it's gone here. And then I would subtract the 2, which is going to lead me to 0. So I'll have 1/4 x plus 1y equals 0.